Stanley Kubrick's The Shining was released in 1980, but has risen to popularity and investigation in the last few years. Most notably in the 2012 documentary Room 237, which explores multiple theories around the film's meaning. Since information for the film was gathered by enthusiastic bloggers, a lot of information already exists on this film, especially around interpretations of the Apollo moon landing, the Holocaust, Native America, and the numbers theories. So my aim with this video is to add some strength and evidence to a theory that is less explored in Room 237, the idea of history repeating itself and Jack being a sexually abusive father. Steve Martin once said that all life's riddles are solved in the movies. In the case of The Shining, however, I think that it raises more questions than it answers. I think Kubrick was more interested in presenting an enigma than a solid definable meaning. Therefore, all interpretations hold some weight as the film is so subjective, and for me the theme which is most clear is that The Shining explores the darker side of the human condition. Several elements in the film point towards Jack abusing Danny. This is supported by different images in the film. In order to present something new, I must first recap some information that has already been identified before by other theorists. This is more for understanding and context than that has been discovered by myself. If we can assume that it was Jack that lured Danny into room 237 where he is strangled, by using the tennis ball which he is seen with earlier in the film, then it is possible that Jack was waiting for Danny inside the room. If we can compare another scene where Jack is waiting for Danny, and the first time Jack enters room 237, we can parallel moments that support the likeliness that Danny was abused. The camera positions and character movements are similar in both situations. Both characters are sat waiting and reach out. There is also a mirror on the right side, and both scenes have the presence of a bathroom. Jack kisses both characters and is soon faced with the horrible truth of what is about to happen next. Other elements in the film point towards Jack being homosexual and also attracted to younger boys. Jack reads a magazine of Playgirl, which features an article on pedophilia. Jack wears a t-shirt with Stovington across the chest, which was the school that Jack taught at in the book, also showing the presence of children. Jack's typed confession has the words Jack, play, and boy. If we compare the compositions and actions of these shots, it hints at the traumatic acts that Danny may have been involved with. This shot again shows the elements of composition, shower curtains, and mirrors with room 237. And with a similar framing that removes the character's head, we can also see that Danny is associated with bears at different points in the film, adding more evidence to these parallel shots. This sets us up to understand this next connection. One of the biggest questions discussed about The Shining, especially on the Movie Geek United podcast, is what is the meaning of the strange jump cut during room 237? Despite the film being in the horror genre and at face value being about the fantastical, Kubrick never resolves to cinematic manipulation through jumpy editing. Therefore, the inclusion of this shot must be intentional and for a reason. At first I thought it was a cut backward in time to show the woman rising out of the bathtub before she approached Jack, and thought nothing else of it. But since we have just explained that this film doesn't use this kind of editing at any other point in the film, and is very uncommon with the rest of Kubrick's work, the most logical explanation is that there are two older women in the bathroom. One approaching Jack, and the second in the bathtub. Two identical women. Where have we seen this before in the film? The twins, Grady's daughters, who were murdered in the hotel. And since Grady calls Jack the caretaker, and Jack sees visions of the past when he looks through different mirrors, this presents the ideas that the twins were abused by Grady before they were eventually murdered, and the women in the bathroom are haunting ghosts of this terrible acts of the past. Also, what does Danny envision the first time he goes to room 237? twins. Perhaps the twins symbolize the evidence of guilt from the past. Notice that Danny and the twins share scenes together. And Jack and Grady are also closely associated. If you watch The Shining forwards and backwards at the same time, you can see several images that connect to support meaning of this theory. The bedroom conversation ties into Jack's conversation with Grady about how his family should be punished, again linking Jack and Grady's actions towards their families. Here's a series of images from the film playing forwards and backwards. I want you to look for connections of Danny being associated with the twins and Jack being associated with Grady. The idea of history repeating itself presents Grady as the caretaker. He abuses his daughters, the twins, murders them, and then passes the legacy on to Jack. Jack becomes the caretaker, abuses Danny, but at this point the timeline is broken as Danny and Wendy manage to escape. So the question is, did Jack pass his curse on to Danny? An alternate ending to the film suggests that Jack may have passed on his curse in a 3-minute scene that was cut by Kubrick on the opening day of the film's release. It describes Allman checking up on Wendy and Danny in a hospital and returning the tennis ball to Danny, suggesting that he is somehow stuck with a part of his father and that history will unescapably repeat itself. However, as the film stands, Jack is frozen and is forever trapped in the hotel, and this vicious cycle of abuse has ended, making The Shining a dark story but with a hopeful ending in which Danny is saved. I think that Kubrick presents stories of ambiguity, not to confuse or entice us, but as an extremely intelligent, well-read person, he still doesn't have the answers to our human conditions, but presents our capabilities without judgment, and the bizarre circumstances in some movies are only a reflection of our innermost battles with insecurities, urges, desires, and our unescapable human condition.